Welcome back to our program. I wanted to comment for a little bit about a column I wrote this week. It's on our website. You can see here if you're looking at the website now, or those of you at home listening can go to my website at www.jimbrownusa.com. The Boston bomber has been caught. One was killed. This 19-year-old younger brother now is in custody. And so there's a lot of talk about what constitutional rights he may be entitled to. And I can tell you, I've seen polls and I've talked to people in the street. The vast majority of people who look at this young man look on him as a terrorist, someone who doesn't deserve many constitutional protections, ought to be locked up and tried as soon as possible. And the problem there is that he's an American citizen. The crime happened on American soil. Looks like there's no doubt that he actually did it. But you've got to see what differentiates him from some of the other terrible things that have gone on in this country. You go to the fact that in Columbine, there was, I think, 7 people killed, 25 injured by that young man in Colorado. Then the other Colorado shooting, Aurora, the movie theater, 70 people were shot and 12 died. How about Tucson, the shooting involving Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford? At that location, you had 19 people shot and 6 killed. Is there a difference? Some may argue, well, the difference is that he was driven by his religious convictions. He was an extremist with his religious convictions. Well, there's no evidence that anybody else either encouraged him or helped him in any way, just he and his brother. So can you really differentiate? Are we going to get with the thought police about what's going on in your mind? And you get in a very slippery slope when you do that. That, quite frankly, is one of my problems with the hate crimes. The hate crime is determined by what your thoughts are. Do we get into everyone's thoughts to determine just what they're thinking? I think a killing is a killing. This young man should be tried as an American citizen in court. I hope they nail him. There's no evidence that he's at all innocent, and I hope the worst happens to him. But he still is entitled to basic constitutional rights. Now, if you don't like that, and a lot of my listeners don't like that, then we need to change the Constitution. You're given Miranda rights, which means under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, you don't have the requirement to testify against yourself. That's a basic foundation of the common law that came from England, that's written in our Constitution by the Founding Fathers. And that's an important distinction. Now, there's also one additional difference. The Miranda right says that you've got to tell the young man or anyone accused that you have the right not to testify against yourself. Here's the one exception. When there is ongoing immediate danger, if the police had any reason to feel that other bombs had been planted, that other people were involved, they had the right not to tell him that he didn't have the basic requirement to testify while they were trying to glean from him information about an ongoing investigation that might mean immediate danger to the public. And I support that, and I agree. But you still have this constitutional right not to incriminate yourself. And some people may say bad law. Well, if he's guilty, and some of you may say he's not entitled to any protections, and I understand the tension that builds up. But what you've got to do is, how do you differentiate between this American and this American? How do you differentiate between this crime and that crime? Let me give you a comment by Slate Magazine, Emily Brazen, that I read here yesterday. She says, why should I care that no one is reading this young man his Miranda rights? When the wall gets bent out of shape for him, it's easier to bend out of shape for all the rest of us. And I think the best thing I remember seeing, I studied World War II a great bit, those Nuremberg trials in Germany. When he was asked to testify, Nazi Field Marshal Hermann Göring had this to say, very chillingly, and it really affects us today. Here's what Göring said, this Nazi. It is always a simple matter to drag people along, whether it is a democracy or a fascist dictatorship or a parliament or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That's easy. All you have to do is tell them that they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in every country. The issue is this: freedom versus security. Is there a trade-off? I'd like to think not so. Your basic freedoms guarantee your constitutional rights. I don't want an Orwellian future where we've gotten security, but we have no freedom. I don't want to live like that, and I hope you don't either. So We need to see this young man is tried. We need to see that he aggressively is deterred. We need to investigate any ties to him, but we also need to protect the Constitution. It's not important just to him. It's important to you and me. I'll be right back after this message.